Welcome to another NBA Roundtable. My name is Matt Eppers. I'm a digital producer at USA TODAY Sports, and we are here, of course, talking finals. And guys, the biggest storyline entering Game 4 has been Bucks star Giannis Antetounkoumpo and just how incredible he's been in the past two games. Back-to-back 40-point nights. He's only the sixth player in NBA Finals history to do that. Jim, what have you seen from him in these past two games that has been key to how dominant he's been?
I mean, first and foremost, he's healthy. I mean, it seems improbable to have thought that. I know he's still icing and probably is in pain, but I mean, he's playing like like a two-time MVP who didn't hyperextend a knee, 10 days ago. So that looks first and foremost. I would say, look, he's trying to work in some of the elements of the game, of his game that he's tried this year. I think he attempted 1-3. We've seen the baby hook. We've seen the baseline fade, maybe the mid-post kind of fade. But he's going to the rim. That's his bread and butter. And I would say that's probably, of what we've seen these last two, he's sort of taking that, playing to the strength, if you will, of his game, largely because the Suns, especially if Deandre Ayton is not in the game, clearly, that's a strength of his and the Bucks.
Duane, when it comes to Ayton and his role for the Suns, how important has he been, and what can they do to try to keep him on the court for as long as possible?
You got to give more help on Giannis, which you got to force Giannis to be a passer. Giannis was saying earlier today that he's always been able to pass. Well, we got to put that to the test. You got to see if he can actually find other people. That means, doubling down on Giannis. When Giannis commits to the post up on, say, Crowder, then you've got to give help to force other guys to make shots. And I know that's a danger when you're looking at Middleton, who can hit it, and Holiday 5 or 10 from 3, but you got to bank that he's not going to do that again.
I guess the big question now, Jeff, is what can the Bucks do to try to keep Giannis in this zone that he's found?
Feed him the basketball. Get him the ball in the spots he likes to get it. Run whatever fashion of set that the Bucks do to get him the ball at the top of the key, maybe between the top of the key and the wing, and let him go to work. I like Duane's point about making him pass. The Bucks obviously played much better at home, and the idea that Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton shot 47, 48% from three-point range in that game. If you're going to collapse on Giannis and you are going to build that wall and commit that many people to keeping him out of the paint, and I don't think in games 2 and 3 that the Suns did a great job of keeping him out of the paint. He got there when he wanted. I mean, you mentioned it, Matt, back-to-back 40-point games. So he's getting to the paint, he's getting his dunks, and if you are going to collapse on him, it makes those closeouts even more important. And we've seen so far that, being at home has certainly helped the Milwaukee Bucks. And they're going to continue to do that. And so that's how I think they're going to play. They're going to do those little pick and rolls. They're going to get Giannis the ball, and they're going to let him operate. I don't think there's anything fancy, complicated about it, and I don't think the Bucks need to do anything fancy or complicated. Yes, you do need some ball movement, some player movement to get Middleton and Holiday some shots, even Pat Connaughton. But man, I'm no expert here. Get the ball to Giannis Antetounkoumpo and let him go to work and live with those results. That's how I'm running the show.
Mark, what are you saying about Giannis and how he is attacking this Suns defense?
I think Giannis is doing what he excels at. And I think when you look at what he's doing, the Suns have been trying to play the percentages at the beginning of the series where they'll concede the outside shot. They've also tried the approach of, hey, we know Giannis is going to get his point, but at least make him work for it, be physical. Giannis had mentioned after practice availability, how he has a lot of scratches and they're messing up his pretty face. But the problem is when they're doing that, number one, unlike at the beginning of the series, Giannis's teammates are hitting shots when, they are building that wall on Giannis for him to pass out. And the second thing is, if they're being physical with him, he's still going to the free throw line. And sometimes in the first two games, that wasn't as big of a deal because it created energy. You had the Suns fans, yelling the countdown, and obviously that doesn't apply in Milwaukee when it's an arena full of Bucks fans. The thing about the Suns is, to their credit, even though they're inexperienced, relatively speaking, they have a track record during this postseason of when they have bad performances, bouncing back, when they're down 2-1 against the Lakers, failing to close out against the Clippers in Game 5. So, they have the emotional maturity and perspective, but and there's also some low-hanging fruit. Like, look, it might be just a lost task to say, limit Giannis. Like, it's inevitable he'll have a really good game. Same with his teammates, but there are some low-hanging fruit things of Devin Booker shooting a lot better, which he has shown that he has good bounce-back performances. Maybe Deandre Ayton doesn't avoid getting 4 fouls, but he can avoid getting 5 fouls and at least just be available for a lot of the game to slow Giannis down and also be productive. But I think, the thing that's different compared to the adversity with the Lakers and the Clippers is the circumstances with the Bucks. With the Lakers, their resiliency coincided with LeBron James and Anthony Davis's health deteriorating. Their resiliency against the Clippers coincided, Kawhi Leonard wasn't available at all during the series. We're here with the Bucks. You always keep an eye out on Giannis's health, but for whatever it's worth, Giannis says that he's healthy, he feels good. And it's clear that as the series has progressed, they're playing a lot better than they were since Game 1. So a lot of interesting things to look for in Game 4.
Jeff, when you look at him from the perspective of best player in the game, that's always sort of an argument that crops up, especially when somebody has a dominant performance like this in the finals. Where do you think Giannis sort of fits in that conversation? How much emphasis do you really put on something like that?
Well, if I say he's a top 5 player, I don't want anyone to think that that's some kind of insult when we're comparing it to Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry. I mean, Giannis is a top 5 player. He's a 2-time MVP. And all the things that Jim just said, all add up. He's getting a chance here in the finals. He's playing up to the moment, which I think is fantastic to see a guy do. I thought Devin Booker did it in games 1 or 2. Maybe Giannis doesn't have a great game at some point in this series as well. And that's not going to detract to how I think he fits in the hierarchy of today's top NBA players. And the other thing I thought was interesting in the press conference before Game 3 that we were just all a part of, I don't know if we've seen peak Giannis. Maybe we've seen peak Giannis so far in his playoff career, but he's talking about the things he wants to do even a little bit better. So let's just say he adds a few percentage points to his free throw shooting, and maybe he elevates his mid-range and 3-point shot by just a couple of points. That makes him even better, makes him a tad more efficient, and helps out the other players on his team. But here in the moment, I think it's fantastic watching it, seeing it, and he is proving, that he belongs on the All-NBA team, first team, that all the accolades that come his way and have come his way, he certainly earned. And I think Giannis has talked about enjoying this moment. I think that's what I'm trying to do too. Whoever is having the good game on either team is to enjoy it and appreciate it for what it is. All these guys, except for Jay Crowder, are playing in their first NBA Finals. And I really don't think any one player is cowering in the moment. And in fact, most of them are living up to it. And that's why I've enjoyed this series so far.